All right, lads, welcome back to me podcast, Cheaper Than Therapy. Dropping out more podcasts as I promised. Extra podcasts with funny people, interesting people. That's the goal. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're surviving. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sharing, liking, commenting. Any emails, concerns, send them on over to my Instagram page, Mick Thomas Comedy. I think I'll do next week's episode where I just answer questions. I'll just answer any kind of questions. So send them over and I'll spend one whole episode on just questions. That's my goal. But for now, I am joined by a very good friend of mine. Funny guy, nice guy. And there's a lot of education in the room right now. And I'm going to talk to my good buddy, Mr. Tom Murphy, everybody. Hi, Tom.
Hey, thanks, bud. Thanks for having me on.
Man, thanks so much.
Excited to be here.
During this time, I always said, I'll bring a guest on, right? And I'll go, I'm not going to talk about this. But then that's all that's going on, right? Because we just talked about stand-up and about, when, let's say this stopped in 2 weeks' time, right? That's been basically a month of this. So what comic is going to come out with, it's going to be, every comic is going to do quarantine material, regardless, right? And Sure. It's going to be like Trump material. Whereas, and again, I have to always state that I'm not political, but it's going to be once you've heard one Trump joke, you've heard them all.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so it's once you hear one isolation joke, you're going to hear it all. So it really is kind of... And then when you come out, what I'm going to say, so the other night I'm out with my kids at the movies, and I'll be like, no, you weren't.
No, you were quarantined.
You're lying. You were quarantined.
You were home with your wife and you hate her, and you were stuck there.
It's life, man, and that's what's going to what it's going to be. So, but you, I don't want to mention the airline. You're an airline pilot.
That's correct.
Not just for a little fucking shitty rinky dink. Let me deliver some stuff to Connecticut from New York. No. You're on a fully fledged national airline. What size planes do you fly?
The big boys. The planes that I fly seat between 150 and 200 people, but
Jesus, man,
there's not that many people on them lately, I'll tell you that.
That's the thing. So do you think, what do you guys do now? Do you guys, and again, I don't want you to mention the company,
Sure.
just in case this is not sanctioned for this company, but do you guys see just less flights going out now, or do you guys still try operate as normal and let's see what happens? Or?
No, the airlines, not just mine, are definitely reducing capacity lately. They're canceling flights that have lighter loads on them, loads of passengers.
Do you have to clarify that?
Yeah, just in case. I know it's a broad audience out there, not just females, a broad audience, males and females. So yes, in the airline business, they call that load factor. That's the amount of people on board as a percentage of the entire airplane. So if the airplane holds 200 people and there's 100 people on board the flight, that's a load factor of 50. Lately, our load factors are in the low to mid 40s on average. Some flights are lower than that, and some flights are higher than that.
What's the minimum amount of people you will fly with?
Well, we have sometimes flights that are called repositioning flights. And yesterday and today was this morning was a good example. I started my morning in San Juan, Puerto Rico. We flew empty on a repositioning flight from San Juan to Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic.
Okay.
The government of the Dominican Republic is allowing people to be flown out of the country.
Now, when you say flying out of the country, are the locals? I don't want to say the Dominicans.
I think non-citizens they want out of the country.
So if I was Dominican and said I'm going to jump on that plane and go back to New York with these guys, would I be allowed to go?
If you're Dominican and you want to leave the country, yes, you could go.
But
let's just say you went on vacation a few days ago in Dominican, and now the government has issued this order. You would have to leave the country. And so the airlines are not allowed to fly people non-citizens into the country, to my knowledge. But they can fly people out of the country, and that's precisely what we did today. So our flight leaving the Dominican was full, as a matter of fact.
And that's not your concern, right? You don't have to police who gets on a plane.
No, I mean, there's a lot of layers, a lot of levels of trust in the airline business. My job is to operate the plane safely from point A to point B.
That's it. You don't care.
That's the most simplistic way to.
You don't care for Con Air.
Yeah, no.
Remember that movie?
I do. It's not my favorite Nick Cage movie, but I remember it. My favorite is Face Off, and there was airplanes in that one too.
Yeah.
Take off now.
The face off. The mask.
Yeah.
but okay, but like if you get on a plane that's full of prisoners, you don't give a shit. Your just job is to get from A to B.
Well, our company we don't transport prisoners at all. That's like in our op specs.
I mean, I obviously went.
I'd hate to be boring.
I went for a bad joke, of course.
No, that's okay. No, you're fine. No, your jokes are terrific. You know, you know that. Your audience knows that.
So, so what's the Are people, especially the stewardess, is that the correct word? Because you can't say. What's the politically correct term?
If I tell you what we call them, that will give away where I work, which is fine.
Sure. I'd rather not, just in case I say something that...
Some places refer to them as flight attendants. Some places refer to them... No airlines refer to them as stewardesses anymore.
Okay.
Some companies call them in-flight crew members.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah,
it's a bit long.
That's not bad. It's a little wordy. Yeah, but
the tag is a bit long.
It's very PC.
Yeah.
Very warm and fuzzy.
It is.
In private aviation, they're called cabin attendants because they're not a required crew member.
Attendant?
Cabin attendant.
Cabin attendant.
Cabin attendant.
I don't like that one.
I don't know.
I don't like that one. So, what's their feeling about it all? Like, are they nervous to fly? I mean, can they call out, not sick, but...
Well, certainly if you're not feeling well, now more than ever, you should not be going to work.
Don't come to work.
That's very, very prevalent across our industry.
Right.
So... certainly I would say that they are more exposed than the pilots are. I mean, the pilots go into the cockpit or the flight deck to be PC, and we close the door and we're up there. We've got Clorox wipes. They've got Clorox wipes. We've at my company, we've amended our in-flight service to minimize some person-to-person contact. Less of it. We're not serving as many snacks as we used to serve. Not as many beverages as we used to serve. We used to have a hot towel service on our flights. They're not doing that anymore.
I see why. Yeah.
So we're doing what we can.
What about the guys like throwing the bags onto the plane? Like what are they called? The baggage crew, I guess.
Yeah. The ground ops crew members. I'm not really sure. The guys throwing the bags. That's a tough job. I don't know. Everyone's definitely washing their hands more and sanitizing, which is kind of and kind of pathetic, maybe, if we weren't doing it enough to begin with.
Sad?
I'm not speaking for myself, obviously, but
I said that last week before the shit really hit the fan. Right, I was like, when the president came on, and he was like, "Just wash your hands, just wash." And I was like, "Isn't it? We're all fucked if the president has to come on television and goes, guys, can you be cleaner? Just be cleaner, for fuck's sake.
You should all wash your hands. I know about washing hands. I'm the best at washing hands. Nobody knows how to wash hands like I know how to wash hands. I'll tell you how to wash hands. Dr. Fauci doesn't even know how to wash hands. I know how to wash the hands, okay?"
That's actually good.
Yeah, not bad.
So, but like across the airline like that, though, so if people call out sick, is there a certain number that you can fly with, like with a crew?
I mean, there's always 3 to 4 flight attendants on the plane, and 2 pilots. So there's plenty of reserve crew members available to fill in a trip if somebody were to call out sick.
Okay.
So,
and what's the least number you guys will fly with? Did I ask this already?
Oh yeah, I mean, single digits. I mean, if
really,
and it's not always that simple, because a lot of times it's not about just where the plane is going; it's where it's going on the subsequent legs. It needs to be in position for the next trip, or down the line. I mean, a plane could start in New York and go down to Orlando. Then they just might Austin, need the plane, Texas, or Long Beach, California. Yeah. It doesn't matter. Yeah, it's not just about the one flight. It's very much a big picture.
I never thought until you said it. I always used to think that as like, why really we're going to fly? Because I remember I flew. I can't remember where I was. It was last year, and I went. Where was it? I could have been Orlando, maybe. I flew by myself, but I remember getting on the plane. And I don't want to mention the company because it's who you work for. So I got on the plane, and the guy came over and he's like, "Look at this. This is not full at all." And I looked around, and there must have been maybe 19 people. Right? I don't know why I didn't say 20. I may have been an arsehole now. And they were like, they said the one guy, "Can you move over to that side of the plane for weight?" What's the word?
Was it Keanu Reeves telling you to do that?
No, I don't know. But what was it? Weight distribution.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And I kind of said to the guys, like really, like him sitting over there really determines if this plane goes or not. Is that really like if you had 20 people on that plane and we all sat on the right hand side? Are we just going to Canada?
Honestly, there's other people that kind of crunch those numbers, and they send them to us. If it's a valid solution, we go fly. If it's not, then we, run the numbers again.
But do you feel if that group of guys, like if the guy, everybody, you sit over there, there's all 9 of you, like, is that really going to make a difference on the plane? The distribution of that?
In some ways, yes. I would say in this particular example, probably not. Without knowing all the particulars.
Like I said, we'll call it 20 people. And then they were just like, all right, fuck it, let's just... And they were moving people.
Right.
And I was like, I think we're in trouble. Like, and I was very nervous about the amount of people that flew on the plane, because it's one of those planes that if it goes missing, those conspiracy theorists, they go, well, I was only like 20 people. You know what I mean? And because then you get the conspiracy theories like, well, a plane wouldn't take off if it only had 20 people. And I was always one of those, I was never a conspiracy theorist, but sometimes I'd listen to a guy and go like, yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, why would you spend thousands of dollars on launching a plane? But when you said they might need that plane in fucking
absolutely
Philadelphia, in Phoenix,
sure,
or whatever, it's
very much a big picture thing. Like, here's another misconception. Like, I don't have a route.
Right.
You're
not a UPS guy.
I hate that question. I don't hate it, but it's kind of entertaining. Right. When you tell someone you tell somebody that you're a pilot, and they say, "Oh, really? What's your route?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm based in JFK, so my route is the Bell Parkway."
Right.
You know, I mean, it's like I'm not like the Orlando guy or the Fort Myers guy. I just go,
it's like I can't fly this route every single day.
All different places.
Yeah, I guess because it's like when someone comes to a comic and they go, what's your skit? Did you see your skit?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Tell me a joke.
Yeah, I don't know anyone who likes a skit, likes that word at all. But also too, is there certain places now that people are not allowed to fly to? There's certain places now that are shutting down within the country. I mean,
okay, that don't want non-citizens in their country. I mentioned the Dominican Republic is on their way to that. I believe Barbados starts tomorrow.
That's the West Indies, right? That's considered Barbados. Isn't that considered
like the Leeward Islands or the Windward Islands?
I can't remember which ones.
It's way down south in the Caribbean. Okay. It's almost kind of north of South America by just a couple of 100 miles.
Okay.
Barbados has restrictions in place. Trinidad and Tobago have restrictions. Aruba, Turks and Caicos, I think Bermuda. There's a lot of the islands that my company serves, and the other airlines serve as well, that are definitely restricting travel.
What about in flight?
In the States?
Is that what it's called, in flight, I guess?
What do you mean, in the United States?
Within
No.
Not crossing water, I guess.
No, there's no restrictions right now currently in the United States. I mean, the president has gone on the record as saying, you shouldn't travel unless you have to travel. But, people are still traveling. You still
rent a car, right? Hertz and Enterprise and those guys.
Oh, yeah. I had to rent a U-Haul truck the other day to move some furniture. So,
right, like a man to a U-Haul truck.
Yeah.
Fuck, man. And a question I think we've talked about this off air many times, so I don't want to come across... I've been on guys' podcasts, and I'm going to ask you about this, and I want you to act surprised. I don't want to be phony, but we have talked about this once at the back of a comedy club, or maybe in a car. We were driving somewhere, maybe from the city, and you said, and I asked a question about when the plane lands, and everybody applauds. Do you guys sit there and just nod and go, yeah? Turn to your co-pilot and go, yeah. All right, Timmy. Yeah, that's for us back there. We fucking nailed it. We fucking killed tonight. We just hit it out of the park. That's for our... do you guys ever want to go and take a bow? Oh, guys, you're too nice. No, thank you. Thanks so much.
When we're sitting up front, I might have a good laugh about it. But when I'm... it's like, oh, they clapped at that? Dude, that wasn't even a good landing. But when I'm sitting at the back of the plane and they do that, especially if I'm traveling in uniform, which sometimes if I'm non-revving somewhere, it's easier to travel in uniform.
Right.
Or if I'm deadheading, which is an airline term for the company, bought me a ticket to reposition me for the next trip that I'm going to fly.
Sure.
So if I'm sitting in the back with the people and they do that, and I'm in uniform, I kind of cringe a little bit because it's just like, oh my God, you're clapping because we did our job,
Right. I always used to think that I would sit on a plane, and I fly a lot, man, and it's when they land and everyone claps, I'm like, he didn't do a fucking loop-de-loop. Like, if he does a loop-de-loop and backs that shit in, I'm like, all right, then, yeah, that was fucking amazing. That was fantastic. But like you said, man, just to do your job, like, I get it that, like, oh, yeah, well, he got us here safe. Yeah, he got himself there safe, too. You know what I mean?
I don't want to stereotype, so I'm not going to mention any particular demographic, but there's people that live in certain parts of the world that are more prone to clapping for a landing when a pilot lands than others.
Really?
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes, that's true.
Like, if you're like, oh, fuck, I got to fly to, and I'm only making this up.
I mean,
they're fly to Ohio now. Sure. And it's like, oh, I heard these are the clappers.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, for your example, yeah, I'll agree with you. I mean, there's just certain groups of people. I don't know if they're just more religious or they're more nervous flyers. You know, they're making the sign of the cross while we're taking off, and then when we land, they're like, yeah, you know, and they're like having a celebration back there.
Yeah, when I see someone make the sign of the cross when we take off, I look around and go, all right, we're good. We're good. Because if this shit works, I've never once heard of an accident where one person made it out. You know what I mean? It's either all or nothing.
That's true.
Right? It's never like I look over and go like, all right, well, we're covered for that now. Because if her plan works, then we're all fucking good.
A bunch of you aren't going to make it.
We're all going to be fine.
Yeah.
We're all going to be fine.
For sure.
And here's another thing I wondered if you hate, because I fucking hate it being a comedian, the funny stewardess. Again, I'm using the word, or the flight attendant.
Yeah.
When they come up and they do. I remember I was flying this time I was definitely going to Orlando. I was going down there. I was doing some gigs down there. And I said, you know what, while I'm down here, I'm going to go to Disney. Right? So I'm not like by myself.
Sure.
Don't give a shit.
Yep.
You know, I'm a big Disney fan.
Oh, yeah.
And then when I get on the plane, again, I'm not going to mention any airlines. You don't work for this one, so I'm just. But if I say it, it kind of starts eliminating people. And the guy gets on, and he just trying to be funny, and everyone's dying laughing, right? Everyone's fucking hysterical laughing. But I'm thinking to myself, like, and I said this on the way back out loud. I swear to God, Tom, I flew into Fort Lauderdale, not Orlando.
Okay.
Let me take that back. So I flew into Fort Lauderdale. And I remember just being annoyed about a lot of things that went on that trip. One of the shows, which I think I told on an earlier podcast, where I saw Johnny Cash impersonator fight with Elvis.
Oh, yeah.
Right, like literally a physical fist fight, and Keith Richards was breaking it up. So I flew into Fort Lauderdale. I met up with a friend of mine, Eric, and we hung out for the night in just outside Miami. Which was a shit. It was fun to sit with Eric and eat, but it was a shit kind of
He's got a
atmosphere.
nice car, right?
Yeah, of course he does. Eric is a good guy. So then we're flying back, and I'm sitting there, and the guy's cracking these jokes, and everyone's laughing because he's a hack, and everyone loves a good hacky comedian, right?
Right.
And I literally went out loud like, he's not even funny.
Oh, he said that?
Out loud.
Awesome.
I was like, he's not even funny. And then people kind of looked over at me, and one woman kind of like, how dare you? And it's not her fault because she's enjoying the show, right? And I went like, I'm coming back from this is funny because my dad wasn't dead at the time. I was like, I'm coming back from burying my father. I got to listen to this shit. And the people around me were like, oh, fucking hell. Like, they got serious, which is kind of true. I thought, like, what if you're coming back? You just want to have your job is to fucking get me there. Give me snacks.
Yep.
That's all I paid for. Don't get it. Like, I don't have to, because it's a captive audience.
Yeah.
Right? If you're in the DMV and all of a sudden someone comes out of a microphone, beep, so what's the deal with traffic? Right? Like, fuck you. I came here to get my likes. I didn't need to sit, like, when a comedy show breaks out. So if I'm on a plane, I don't need you to fucking try to be funny when you're clearly not. Because not everybody's going to Disney, mate. I get there's little kids on the plane and you want to be funny for them, but like there's other people who go into Florida. Chances are there's only two reasons to go to Florida: to bury your old relative
or to go to
fucking
World.
Disney.
And they're not going to Disney World now.
They're going to fucking Disney now.
Most likely their old relative has the coronavirus and they're going down to.
So do you guys like if you hear that? I mean, I know you maybe your airline doesn't have it, but would you just roll around?
No, some of them, some employees try to be funny, and I think
do you have to get approved for that though? Or
no, I mean you're always putting yourself out there. If you're making a public address announcement, and it's all recorded, so if you see something inappropriate, you could certainly get in trouble for it.
Right.
But there are some employees that try to be funnier than others, or that think they're funnier than others, and some of them are, but some of them aren't, and it's really like a question of knowing your audience, like you just kind of alluded to, and it's also a question of like that's not your job. I mean, some people do it, I think, to make nervous flyers feel more comfortable.
That's a fair point,
and I think some people are receptive to that.
I never looked at it
receptive to it for that reason. Believe it or not, there's actually pilots that come out and make stand-up public address announcements. I've done it myself. Usually when I haven't been on stage in a while, but it's not like a hacky routine. It's just more like, interacting with people. It's more like cheesy crowd work, from your pilot, But it's like I'll do my normal announcement and I'll see like people rolling their eyes or like somebody looking at me really intensely, and I'll be like, what I'm saying, 4B, seat 4B, what I mean, right?
You crack them,
break them, kind of point them out a little bit and put them on the spot. But I don't know. So anyway, but I'm very cautious with it. And some people, when I fly with them and I tell them that I, dabble in stand-up comedy, one of the first things they like to ask me is, do you ever do that? Do you do your shtick? Out
the shtick
into the cabin? Do you ever make a stand-up PA to the people in the back? You tell some jokes. And I'm like, not really.
Not what I talk about.
Yeah. No. What are we going to do? Whine about my divorce? They want to know
I've seen you come off stage. You go, Tom, I got to hug you, man. Are you all right? Yeah. I think if you did that act before you flew, people are like, I think
either that or they'd be like, oh, another pilot getting divorced. Big deal. That's not funny. That's like, stereotypical.
But I guess what you're saying, though, like about they record everything, like, and we live now in a cancel culture, right? That if you come... See, here's the thing. Like, I could easily get on the phone and call up that company and go, you know what? And lie. I was coming back from my father's funeral and I didn't appreciate the humor. That's not their job. And you know what would happen? Because we live in a shitty world today. We do live in a shitty world in relation to how we're entitled. And I think people should turn and say, excuse me, shut the fuck up. We enjoy the bad jokes.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Instead of saying that, they would probably cancel it. And like you said, a lot of people do enjoy it because most people are laughing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, obviously I'm the asshole in this scenario. Like, I know I'm the asshole.
No. You're not, because you're a professional comedian and it's hacky material.
Right.
And a lot of times people laugh at hacky material. But that doesn't mean that it's funny.
But I'm still an asshole for wanting it to stop when everybody's having a great time. You know what I mean?
That's your idea of fun is different than other people's idea of fun. That's all. That doesn't mean that you're an arsehole.
Yeah, but you wouldn't stick. I don't know, man. I wouldn't go stop it. Like if I'm at a bar, right? It's a summer bar, and out the back they have, what's that fucking game they play where they have
cornhole?
Is that it, with the ramp and a hole in it?
Bean bags, and you throw the bean bags. Cornhole. Yeah.
So if I'm at the bar talking to my friends, I'm having fun.
Sure.
But they're at the back playing Cornhole Game. Like, I'd be an asshole to go, shut that down! They go, why? Just cause! I'm like, but that doesn't make any sense. Because I'm an asshole and I want everybody else to not have that kind of fun.
What are you, in third grade? You're playing with a beanbag.
Right? That's what I'm trying to say. So, but on the back of that too, right, with political correctness, I was flying to Ireland I can't remember. I went back when my dad was sick before he passed away. I went back so many times between go back to say goodbye to him while he's got his wits about him, come back home, fly over there for his funeral, fly back home. So I'd been going back and forth so much that was on one of those 4 trips. And not to go into a Greg Giraldo bit here at all, but we were all sitting there and the plane was getting ready to take off, and all of a sudden we're like, hello everyone, this is Captain Sheila. And it was a girl, it was a female. And everybody kind of like, I don't give a fuck. You can call me sexist if you want to. I don't give a shit.
There was probably some gasps, right?
Everybody, not gasps, but everybody kind of looked around like, wait a minute. Hang on here. Like, but I get it. Like, yeah, women can do everything men can do. But everybody was like, whoa, I'm okay with this. Yep. Like, and they were forcing this acceptance out, but I just thought it was fucking funny.
Sure.
Do you guys have many?
We do. We have quite a few female pilots, and my company is very, very much encourages women in aviation as a group that encourages women to get involved in aviation. Actually, a good friend of mine, I did a Facebook Live earlier today. Her name is Joanne, that I work with, and she's a flight attendant, and she's learning how to fly, and she just got her private pilot's license. So, big moment for her. She's excited.
I like that.
There's a lot of women pilots.
I think that's great because really all it is, and please do not take this as any like I'm downplaying what you do, but when I say really all it is something I don't think I have the educational and maturity to learn to do it. Is to, like, you're basically kind of just following procedure, right? You're moving a machine, and I think anyone could do it with the right maturity. Like, I'm my ADD, if you started to explain to me, I'd be like, no, I'd be flying and go, look at that, a seagull, right? I'd just be the wrong person. So, I mean, all joking aside, like, yeah, fuck it, why? And I flew a plane let me take that back. I went up in a plane, in a 2-engine plane, 2 propellers.
Right.
And the guy was like, so here's what happened, right? I used to work with a big bank. I don't want to say it just because of the story, not because I don't give a shit about the bank, but because it highlights the guy I was with.
Okay.
And he was this older gentleman, and he was a very valid customer. And I used to work in Farmingdale.
Okay.
Farmingdale, Long Island.
Yep.
And he was trying to give me his big business account, right? And he goes, I want you to sit with all my partners. We'll go for a meeting. So I got to go ahead for my manager. Like, yeah, sure, go ahead. Do it. Do what you got to do. So Farmingdale Airport has offices. You know, most airports have offices. People fly in, they rent out the office, they meet in, they fly out again.
Sure.
So he goes, meet me down the office of Farmingdale at 5 o'clock on Friday evening, whatever it was, during the summer. I go, yeah, man, no problem. So we walk into the office, and then we walk through the office door out onto the runway. And I'm like, wait, where are we going? Like, this guy is 80 years old. We get into a fucking plane, and like we're that polite that we don't even speak up. Go, wait, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Like, where's the pilot? So we get onto the runway, and I'm like, all right, I guess we're flying to Connecticut, which is what, 45-minute flight, if that?
Oh, not even, yeah.
Not 20
Probably
minutes?
25 minutes.
So we get into the I guess, is it the cockpit? It's only the only plane. There's only like 4 other seats behind us. And we're waiting to take off, and he reaches under.
Was he the pilot?
Yeah.
The old guy.
The old guy.
Okay.
And he reaches under, and he pulls out this manual, drops it on his lap, and he starts, and it was like the manual of playing. I go,
it's a checklist.
and I go, mate, listen, I think it's a bit.
You know what you're doing here?
Really? You're taking the manual out right now? And he just started laughing. He goes, no. What happened was he bought a new GPS.
Okay.
And I guess airports have a certain code.
Yeah.
Right?
He's programming it.
Yeah, and he hadn't transferred all these numbers over to the new GPS yet. So he was, in the back of the manual, he wrote like probably Connecticut, F296, whatever the fuck it was.
Right.
And so he just kind of started laughing. So we took off, and he's like, hey, do you want to steer? So I'm like, all right. And it's not like a car. Slight turn left, slight turn right. It's like you gotta lock it again. I know it's like lock it. And it was like, he goes, just go to that big batch of clouds over there. And I was kind of like figuring out. And I was like, fuck me, this is hard.
It's very sensitive.
Yeah, it's not even like
soft hands, man.
Very, man. You're not even. But then like we're kind of sitting there, and me being a comedian. I mean, at that time, of course, I was still a comedian, but I was kind of, I was banking. And I remember I kind of leaned over, and it was just uncomfortable silence. And I said to him, I said, you could just tell me to blow you right now. And I'd have no choice. Like, I'd have no choice, because everything. And he started laughing, like really hysterical. He goes, oh, that's funny. He goes, but seriously, suck my dick. I was like, fuck me, man. He was right. I was like, shit, fucking power he has. So before we change topics real quick, something I've always wanted to know: Captain Sully, hero or not?
Absolutely hero.
All right. See, I would. I don't know if you ever heard my joke about that. I would talk about.
I think I have, but
the joke. The joke was. I mean, I can give it away here. It's not like fucking. I'm going to be doing stand up for a while. It's not like it's going to be on my Netflix special anytime soon. But it was the premise of the joke was how people give too much praise when it's not warranted. Right. It was like Captain Sully is a perfect example. And everyone I say that, people go, what the fuck? Like, people got mad at me in the audience, and I go, like, you know who the real hero is? I was like, the people who take off, the brave men and women who take off every day and don't hit the fucking geese.
That's a very Trump thing to say.
Right? It is a Trump thing to say, right?
I like airline pilots that don't crash.
They dodge the geese. The geese, we got the best geese in the world. They dodge the plane. So yeah, and I always thought like, and then I was like, really? Kind of landed it like an ignorant piece of shit that I was, and a dummy. And then, this sounds like such a douche thing to say, but then when I saw the movie, which apparently was very accurate, because the reason why I kind of, not that I know it was accurate from what I read about it, is that when they kept showing the accident over and over again, I was like, wow, you guys are really fucking playing this on a loop, which means they really tried to get it as accurate. I was like, fuck me, man, that man really was a hero to do that.
Yeah, they had 2 pilots in a simulator, and they were attempting to recreate. They were actually questioning some of his actions and saying that he could have handled it differently, which clearly he couldn't have. He handled that as best as he could. I mean, everybody walked away or swam away or floated up onto the top of the wing, you know what I mean, and got rescued. Nobody lost their lives. That's unheard of in most scenarios like that. Dual engine failure. Your 200,000-pound airplane is now a glider. And you're gliding. Fantastic. You have no power. You're at 3,000 feet, and you've got maybe, 5 or 6 minutes before you're impacting the Earth.
How smooth is that glide?
At 180 miles an hour.
How easy is the control on a glide? Again, I'm not saying
it's fairly easy, but
Okay.
you know what? You just don't have a lot of time to make your decisions.
It's falling fast, right?
Oh yeah.
Do you feel that?
You don't really feel it. I mean, it's pretty quiet.
Right.
And they started the auxiliary power unit to get some of their electrical power back, so that they could still communicate with air traffic control and things like that. But you just don't have a lot of time in that type of a situation.
So it's all just reaction.
And air traffic control was asking him, "Hey, you got this airport over here. You got this airport over here. Can you make it here? Can you make it there?" And he said, "Nope, we're landing in the Hudson River."
Jesus,
that was the only thing that he could have done. And what I was trying to get into before is that in that movie they were scrutinizing his actions, and they had pilots in a simulator attempting to recreate, and they did the exact same scenario that he faced, and those pilots in the simulator crashed like 16 times in a row.
Now, surely there was no pilot,
and they knew what was going to happen. He didn't know he was going to run into a flock of birds.
Yeah.
You hit the birds, and now your human reaction time is
So the guy in the simulator is taking off, knowing what's coming up, and he just But here's the thing too. What I noticed with the movie aspect too, which to make it very Hollywood. First of all, I'm assuming every fucking pilot was on his side, right? I'm sure there was no pilots going, "What the fuck? You know what? If that had been me, I would have got everybody home with hot dogs. Everybody would have been fine. It would have been home in time for dinner, and I would have cooked the dinner had it been me, right?" Because some people are like, I'm sure every pilot was 100% on his side, but for the purpose of Hollywood, and tell me if this is right or wrong, they made it like there's like the company was the enemy, like trying to get him. Would that have been the case, or is that just Hollywood? Because they have to have a bad guy, right?
I think that's somewhat Hollywood.
You can't just say who are the bad guy? The geese. The one had a patch, and he was a terrorist. Fucking you know what I mean? Just an evil geese. Just
it's US Air 1549. Get him! There he is. Come on, guys! Come on! I need all 50 of you. We're taking out both motors. Come on! I think that most companies would support their pilots, certainly in a situation like that.
So in the movie, they were trying to almost like a prosecutor. We're going to get you for this.
Oh well, no, that's not the company. That's the NTSB.
Who are they?
That's the National Transportation Safety Board. It's kind of like an independent body that sort of works in concert with the FAA, Federal Aviation Administration. What the NTSB does, they're not really a regulatory agency. They make recommendations to the FAA, which are very strongly considered and most likely followed.
Okay.
But the NTSB is also responsible for all investigations of aircraft accidents and incidents.
Okay.
So they're very heavily involved in an aircraft accident. They compile all the data. They look at everything from who the pilot was on the phone with that morning, how much rest he got the night before. Certainly require mandatory drug and alcohol tests.
Yeah.
And then they look at the data in the flight data recorder from the aircraft, for the cockpit voice recorder in the aircraft. And these investigations take 12 to 18 months usually on average.
Really?
Before a final report. And sometimes it takes that long just to get a preliminary report issued on an aircraft accident. Certainly one of that magnitude. I'm not sure how long that one took to get the final report, but it probably took at least a year and a half, maybe 2 years.
But not to make it Hollywood, like I'm sure those guys even doing their job would have like kind of been on his side, right? Knowing that he I mean, the movie makes it out seem like that Sully, you fucked up and we're going to get you.
Yeah.
But I'm sure in the real world they're like this guy reacted. This is how he felt in the time was right.
Sure.
He wasn't reckless. He just maybe he had five avenues, but he went down the wrong one, kind of, right? So
I didn't hear too many negative press as far as what he did and what he could have done differently. In fact, I didn't know that there was any sort of negative scrutiny until I saw that movie.
Right.
The only thing I heard, and I don't know Chesley Sullenberg, what a great name for a pilot, right?
Yeah, right.
Chesley Sully Sullenberger.
Just see his mustache.
What a mustache, right? Without that mustache, would it have been the same outcome?
You would have taken the name Chesley
I don't
away
know.
from him.
I don't know. He would have been afraid of those geese. It's all about the mustache. But I have heard from people maybe that have flown with him or knew people that had flown with him that apparently, he was a bit of a stickler in the cockpit, or maybe a bit of a dry personality. And pilots have very different personalities and very, very unique individuals. Sometimes you hit it off, person to person with the guy or gal that you're flying with, and sometimes you don't. But certainly in this case, a guy like Sully, who was so down, all business and maybe a dry uber professional.
Right.
I mean, we're all professionals, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
I'm a bit of a goofball, maybe compared to Sully. We'll just
right.
put it that way. But he was definitely the right person to be placed in that situation, and I can't think of a single thing he should have done differently.
Yeah, man. When I go on stage, I always joke about the opposite of how I feel. I really do. Like, for me to go on stage and go, Sully's not a fucking, all he should have done is hit the fucking geese, right? And I think I play devil's advocate with my material all the time, but I never set out to, like, attack anybody or insult anybody. But dude, that man, to me,
oh no,
like, I mean, what's the equivalent for that for me in my job? A heckler? Like, how did I handle that heckler, right? I mean, it's the same thing, man. And,
yeah.
and I feel like nobody can do someone else's job, and it's amazing. Even now you see it, right? People yelling abuse at other people who you just can't do your job. Like, you can't, like, bad service I get. Like, I was at some smoothie place the other day, and they're only allowed to have 5 people in the building, which is fine. I'm all for it. But I was the only person in the building, and there was 7 kids just standing on the back working there. Just like, I'm like, how? It's a smoothie. Like, it shouldn't take me 19 minutes to get this fucking smoothie. You're all standing there doing nothing.
Right.
But to turn in and say, like, yell at somebody for doing their job, especially as fucking high.
Sure.
As advanced and as important as that job.
I never took your joke that way, by the way.
Oh, no.
Your joke about...
Yeah, because you know me personally.
Sure,
I got no hate in my heart for people when I go on stage.
But you're in a comedy club also. And when I go to a comedy club, I like to laugh. And some people
have to understand,
take it a little too seriously, sadly.
I get, but sometimes you have to understand, too, that if it's part of a fundraiser, the people are not there for the comedy. Like, I love comedy.
Right.
They're there to raise money. If it's especially if it's a fundraiser on a certain night of the week. And everybody in that room is there to support the cause. And if they get entertained, then that's an extra bonus to them. But they like to think that ticket they bought will go towards a sick kid or the baseball team or raise money to send for this guy who's not, this woman is traveling somewhere, we're going to help her out. They're not necessarily there like, oh, this comedian's fucking great. I love, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So that's why I think some people who don't get stand-up, they just get their own agenda. You very rarely get people offended on a Friday and Saturday night.
Yeah.
It's very rare. Very, very rare.
Especially the late show.
Especially the late show. But that's, whatever it is.
They just don't listen at the late show.
But just to change gears on this real quick, and this is something you and I spoke about a long time ago, and I've always put it off. I see right now you're wearing everything is fucking hunting gear from top to bottom.
Yeah, the Under Armour logo on my hoodie, you can't even see it, right?
Right, yeah, it's camouflaged. So you and I talked about like helping me get involved. I actually wanted to start hunting.
Yeah.
Right.
It's.
I think now more than ever, it's like, you know what? Like, if this shit got, I mean, I trust me. Let me say this up front. Like, I don't believe this shit's going to get out of hand. Sadly, people are going to struggle. Sadly, people will lose work. But I think we will definitely recover from it, right? But the worst case scenario, I always wanted to learn to hunt because, number one, I always wanted to eat my own food, eat my own meat that I caught, that I was able to take down, that I was, just have that connection with the food. Or number two, just in case the wheels do fall off, I'm like, you know what, kids, daddy's got you. We're not going to have mac and cheese for a while, but fuck it, I can get a fucking squirrel coming up a tree. I can go get there's so many wild turkeys out on Long Island. There's so many deer out there. And I procrastinated. I procrastinated a lot of things in life, and now it's come back to bite me on the ass because I wanted to get new equipment, and you can't get into Dick's Sporting Goods. You can't, because the lines are wrapped around the door.
Right.
My concern was always like about the initial killing the animal, the first shot, because like I love animals, but I also love meat, and it's kind of hypocritical of me to kind of like, I'll eat meat, I just don't want to, like, I know where it comes from. Like it's dumb of me to shut put that wall up between me, the meat that I love, and where it comes from.
Right.
So if you were to recommend like someone to start, what's the first game they go looking for?
Type of animal?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're going to have a problem with the morality of it, then I would pick the animal that you hate the most.
Okay, Steve.
Yeah, there's nothing like a good, well done Steve.
Okay, no, but I like all animals. You know what I mean? That's the thing.
Yeah. Well, deer is definitely the most popular game to hunt on Long Island. The white-tailed deer.
Okay.
Last time I researched it, I think we had 35,000 in Suffolk County.
Jesus,
that's a lot of deer, right?
What are their names?
Well, Prancer and Dancer. No. The most important reason why people hunt, besides the meat and consuming it, is it's an effective way to manage the population of an animal.
Sure.
To manage the herd, so to speak.
Right.
And that's a very, very big benefit of it. So...
Yeah, see, for me, I don't care. Like, you could have a million deer, like, everywhere I go. I'm like, oh, fuck me, deer. Like, I don't, because I genuinely love to be around animals. I really do. Like, my main purpose to want to start hunting, I might not start by that. For all you people like, oh, Mick Thomas, I thought you were a nice guy, is because I'd be hypocritical if I just ate meat. And I think it's something healthier about go and get it yourself, too.
Yeah.
And you actually were the one that kind of made me, I said, here's what I'm going to do. I said, Tom, bring me some deer, like, to eat. And if I like the taste of it, then I'll invest. But if I don't, I'm like, what the fuck's the point? I'm just going to shoot an animal for no reason. I actually liked it. You know what I was able to do, actually? Because I meal prep, and I had a bunch of steaks in Tupperware, right, ready for the week, all marinated. This before I stopped marinating my steak and certain things.
Right.
And I had the deer meat in one of them, and I couldn't tell the difference. Between steak and the deer.
Most people couldn't.
Right.
And anyway, I was such a loser this year. I didn't even harvest a deer, so I couldn't give you any deer to... well, actually, I think I did give you some from...
You gave me some deer, but remember I asked you, my daughter wanted a skull.
Oh, yeah, that was... I knew there was a loser component of some of this.
Yeah.
And not only did I wish I had harvested a few deer this year to be better prepared for the coronavirus.
Right. Now, why didn't you? Was it just because you didn't go out as much? Or?
No, I went out plenty of times, but, it's just... Some days you see them and some days you don't. And the days that you do see them, you might not have a good shot.
And you shoot with a bow, right? Not a gun?
With a bow. I have harvested deer with shotgun, but Long Island, it's only 1 month out of the year. So I'm pretty much exclusively a bow hunter now.
Do you go out of New York?
To hunt? No.
I was talking to a guy.
You have to be licensed in whatever state you're hunting in. I'm only licensed in New York.
Can you just apply for a license in another town?
Yeah, but you may have to take like in New York, for example, you have to take a hunter education class and a bow hunter safety class. That's where it got me. I was going to do it. And I was like, all right, I just figured like that you and I could go out and let's get a deer. Right. And then you're like, yeah, you got to go to a class. I'm like, that's like me with comedy and not going to open mics and things like that.
Yeah, but I'm like, I can't go to a class now because look how old I am. Right?
No, you can go. There's probably people older than you. You're not that old anyway. It's got
to be children who and probably the females who want to go out. And people would look at me like, but wait, you're supposed to be a man, already. Like, but you're already a man. I go, well, apparently I'm not. I don't have the piece of paper for it.
There'll be guys that are your age or older.
You think so?
There'll be guys that are your age with their sons, perhaps. I wouldn't let that hold you back.
Another thing, there's two other reasons why I don't
get material out of it for sure.
Probably, right? I don't want to yell at it, I'll scare away the game. But there's two other things that have kind of always held me back. Number one is like when you kill the animal, like you don't just fucking throw it over your shoulder and bring it back, do you? You gut it and then bring it to a butcher.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I field dress the animal.
How do you do that? What is that? Exactly?
It's very elaborate. So first of all, you want to make sure that you're taking a good shot. You want to harvest the animal ethically. So you want to make a good shot,
respectful,
hit the vitals, so that the animal doesn't suffer. And then, in the case of a deer, you're probably going to wait at least an hour after you shoot to start tracking the animal. And I hunt up in a tree, 20 or 30 feet up. Oh,
you got to hit him, and then you go look for him?
You're sitting 20 feet up in a tree. You get a good shot. You hit the animal. You take your shot. You kind of watching where it runs. You want to see if it's going to crash down, and then you
want it down soon, right?
Yeah. So then you're going to go to now you're almost becoming like a homicide detective. You're going to climb down from your tree, right? You're going to go to the site where you took the shot, and now you're looking for blood, and now you're going to track the blood trail to where the animal came to rest. Jesus. And so if you make a good shot, it could be 40 or 50 yards away from where you're sitting, and if you didn't make as good of a shot, it could be a quarter mile away from where you're sitting.
Really?
Hundreds of yards away. Deer are incredibly strong and incredibly
they're heavy too, right?
Tough, I guess. I mean, some of them could be a couple 100 pounds, the bigger ones. So anyway, to answer your question, when you do get to the animal and make sure the animal's expired, you kind of poke it with a stick or whatever.
That sounds so childish.
Sounds so, yeah. Come on.
No, he's dead.
Dude, get up. I didn't mean to hit you that way. Sorry.
Oh, you're not even sore. You're not even real.
It's like Simba and Mufasa. Dad. So then you got the animal. You field dress the animal or gut the animal, to use the layman's term.
What do you take out?
A knife. That. Yeah.
No, what do you take out of the animal? I'm
assuming all the organs.
That's like the stomach.
Heart. Some people eat the heart, actually. Some people will take the heart.
When you pull it out, you just pull
lungs, liver,
ground,
stomach.
Leave it there.
You kind of cut out the insides, and then you throw it on the ground. Some people bury it.
How long does that take to get done?
If you're quick, I mean, I've seen YouTube videos. Guys do it in a matter of minutes.
Would they put that on YouTube? I thought it'd be deleted. Really?
Everything is on YouTube.
Minutes. So you just slice it up, you pull it all out, and then what do you do then?
And then you drag the deer out of the woods.
You put it up on your shoulders, carry it.
Yeah, I put it around like the Passover lamb on my.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
I
drag it along the ground. They sell next time you go to Dick's Sporting Goods, they
like
sell.
A sled?
Yeah, like these little carts. So you can kind of throw the animal in there and kind of like a wheelbarrow type of apparatus.
And how many deer are you allowed to bring home?
How many are you allowed?
Yeah.
Well, you can shoot as many doe as you want on Long Island because that's how many there are.
That's the male deer, right?
No,
female. Right, yeah.
Doe a deer, like Sound of Music.
I remember that from Meta Simpsons.
So as long as you have a tag for the animal, you can harvest it. But typically $2, 2 male deer,
very
and
rare,
as many doe as you want.
So you take it to a butcher?
I do. Some guys or gals butcher their own deer.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah.
They'll skin it and butcher it themselves. I'll take it to a butcher and have somebody else do it. It's usually around $100.
$100, and you probably get what, $500 worth of meat?
Depending on how big the animal is, I would say roughly, usually half.
How many numbers has someone told me? That's all.
You know, if it's not a big deer, let's say 70 or 80 pounds after it's gutted, maybe half of that amount in meat you'll get.
Okay.
So, I mean,
it's a lot of meat.
If you think about, like, I don't know, how much is a 16-ounce steak at a grocery store? $15? I don't know.
But $20 if you
get
ribeye,
nice 25.
Yeah.
I don't know. So it's definitely cost effective to kill your own food. But
how long would you get if, let's say you
got to buy a lot of equipment? You got to buy a tree stand, you got to buy a bow, you got to buy your clothes. So it's a bit of an investment, but it's so much fun. And even if you don't see animals just sitting up there, you're kind of watching the world go by and the sounds of nature and stuff. And
So if you took, let's say, an 80 pound, to go by the number you said, an 80 pound doe, family of 4, let's say, just that's the average American family. How long are you feeding those people for?
Well, if you ate it exclusively...
I'm not talking about the people who... I noticed some people that boil the bones up and all that shit.
Yeah.
I'm talking about just getting the meat from it.
So you're eating deer every night, you're saying?
Yeah, let's just say you're going...
weeks, I'd say.
Weeks upon... Wow.
Sure. Because the butcher's going to give you all sorts of cuts. I mean... And they'll give you whatever you want. I've got pork chops.
Really?
Backstrap is like the filet mignon cut on the deer. You'll get tenderloins. You get like kind of the rump roast. You could put it in your crock pot and make a nice dish like that. You get stew meat, like the chunks. You can make stroganoff or stew. You get chopped meat, so you can make meatballs, hamburgers, chili, all from one deer. Ribs.
Jesus, man.
Yeah. And bone broth. You would love bone broth. I mean, being a healthy guy, derive the proteins and maybe some of the... healing qualities from the deer,
sure.
Some Wolverine stuff here, I mean.
and the last reason what kind of took me away from wanting to hunt was the clothes. Like, people go too much with it. Like,
it's a little too much sometimes.
Everything is camo. Like, I was up in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and I went into Walmart there, and everybody had it. Like those babies in camo, like babies being carried on the hips of mothers in camo. I'm like, what the fuck is your baby going? And then and why are you dressed like this? In like, are you gonna fucking take down an elk in the detergent aisle? What the fuck? And then I saw people like with cell phones, like they have that camo
cover, yeah.
And I said to one guy, I said it from the stage. He had it up front because it was in a hunting town. Great audiences.
Right.
And I said to him, I go, mate, what happens if you drop that phone? Like, how do you... Where do you get your phone now? You fucking idiot. You just dropped your phone in the woods. And you obviously have it on silent because you want to scare the animal.
Yeah,
right? So your phone's fucked now. You've lost $1,000 worth of equipment just because you wanted to fucking go, hey guys, I hunt. Do you know what I mean? And then another thing too is like people with the stickers. They put a sticker of a deer up. Yeah. That always got me too, because you put stickers of things you love, right? Like Star Wars, your family sticker, fucking the Jets, fucking baseball, Yankees, right?
Right.
And then you put a picture of a deer. I'm like, what? Do you love the deer because you're shooting it every day? make up your mind.
It's controversial, but most hunters on some strange level do love deer, and it's very much a respect thing.
Which I get, and I've heard that.
Which is strange. It's like, I respect you so much that I'm going to put an arrow right through your heart, and you're going to drop 40 yards from my tree, and then I'm going to cut you up, and I'm going to eat you. That's how much I respect you.
So many people I respect walking around right now. I would love to go and show my respect.
But at the same time, it's also like, I respect you enough that I'm going to make a really good, clean shot on you.
Right,
I'm not going to, make a terrible shot on you so that you suffer.
How did you feel your first one you killed?
I was really excited.
A turkey or a deer?
A deer.
Okay.
I've never shot a turkey. I was really, really excited because it's kind of a big deal.
Sure.
It's hard. It's hard to hunt. It's
Oh, it is.
It's hard to do comedy, by the way. You make it look easy, and you guys that are pros make it look easy. But like somebody like myself, like when I have a good set, which is like rare, like you feel good about it because it's difficult.
Yeah.
So it's a similar feeling when you get a deer. It's not an easy thing to do. They're very smart. Well, they don't look smart, but they are smart, and their sense of smell is off the charts.
I hear that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where me farting in the woods is going to give it sound and smell. Going to give us away. Anyway,
a lot longer than we thought.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, please.
I'm rambling.
I had fun. This is probably my longest episode yet.
Likewise.
Tom, thanks so much, man, for talking to me. I appreciate it, and I hope with your job, everything doesn't affect you too much. You're a good man, but at least if shit hits the fan, you're the first guy I'm going to call for food to help me save my family. Because I mean, if it doesn't grow in a supermarket, then I'm, because that was always my concern, that like people just walk in the supermarket like, oh, that's where I get the food. Like, no, asshole, you don't know where it comes from. But anyway, I hope things work out for you, man. And thanks so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of very interesting conversation. All right, guys, thanks so much for listening. If you have any comments, concerns, like I said, send them to my Instagram page, Mick Thomas Comedy, and we'll respond to you. Thanks so much for listening, guys. Help each other out there. Be good to each other, and we'll get through this soon enough. Thanks so much, guys. Thanks so much. Good luck to you now. Goodbye. This is Mick Thomas, Cheaper Than Therapy Show.